Thank you, Madam President. Buenas tardes. I'd like to start out with a little recap of our summer feeding program because the numbers have come in since our last meeting. This is the first year that dinner was a meal option in the summer, and that service was available at Littleton Elementary School. Breakfast and lunch were available at Eva's Bistro and Estrella Vista. Go Hawks. A total of 11,655 free meals were served to children in our community, and that's a 27% increase over last year's numbers. Lunch was provided the most meals at almost 6,000, and this year we did not have a grant to offer prizes and giveaways to encourage participation as in previous years, so that's a bit of a testament to the need in our community. All the staff members attended sessions related to their job duties on the August 19th All-District Professional Development Day. And some of the highlights were defensive driving for our people who drive for their jobs, customer service, number talks, instruction routines, vocabulary instruction. One focus that will continue throughout the year is number talks, where K-5 teachers received a half-day professional development in the area of mathematics. And that's one of the areas we're really working to help improve our student achievement. This time focused on developing students' mental math strategies through classroom conversations around purposeful computation problems. The book Number Talks was the foundation which provided the structure and resources for this professional development. Throughout the remainder of this year's professional articulation days, which happen on early release Wednesdays, teachers will deepen their understanding of number talks and recognize the impact of building students' mental math capacity. I want to switch gears to the state for a little bit. Most of you know that during the 1990s, school funding in Arizona suffered because most of your schools didn't receive funding increases due to inflation. So by approving Prop 301 from that point on, public K-12 schools were supposed to receive an annual inflation adjustment and the percentage of inflation, or at least 2%. The voter-approved mandate continues into the future and can only be changed by Arizona voters, and that's why when the legislature repeatedly failed to honor the will of the voters, they were sued and lost in court. Mediators between school districts in Arizona and the state legislature have been trying for 7 months to find common ground, but finally pulled the plug on talks last month, meaning the state legislature is now required to make good on a court-ordered $331 million payment that was owed last budget year. Now, the legislature will likely appeal, even though state revenues continue to exceed forecasts by over $300 million. The state leaders are reluctant to call it a surplus. 6 straight months of revenues exceeding projections has some lawmakers hoping to reverse the impact of Governor Doug Ducey's budget cuts. But the governor's office has signaled that the agency heads and legislators should not get their hopes up. What will that mean for K-12 education? Although GOP lawmakers have argued most of those dollars are one-time revenues, House Speaker Andy Biggs acknowledged that roughly half that surplus is from ongoing revenues. The leader's proposal would put roughly $100 million annually from the surplus adjusted for inflation and add that to basic state aid, but that's still a couple $100 million short. Recently, our governor proposed a pathway to settlement that included a trust land proposal. At a meeting of education and business leaders last month, State Treasurer Jeff DeWitt informed the group there's some misinformation about the proposal, which is understandable given we've not been provided the language on it yet. To be clear, the governor's proposal does not increase distributions from 10% of earnings. The proposal is to distribute 10% of the net asset value, which includes the principal of the trust fund, for 5 years. This proposal could face years of litigation with questionable outcomes, further delays to funding our schools, and subjects Arizona to another costly public court battle. This proposal also does nothing to alleviate the current lawsuit from schools or the legislature's appropriation responsibilities to fund public education. While the plan may pay out $2 billion more during a 10-year period to K-12 schools, assuming stock market continues going up, which we found out in the last week or two it wasn't, would provide nearly $8 billion less to schools over the following 40 years, reduce payments to schools by $87 billion by Arizona's 200th birthday. The economic loss grows from there, diminishing the value of the trust fund by $175 billion by 2012, and this proposal creates a $987 million fiscal cliff in 2022. That's nearly $1 billion for the beneficiaries by dropping distributions from 10% to 5% the same year that Prop 301 sales tax that benefits schools, universities, and community college would expire. This funding cliff in fiscal year 2022 is huge. Part of the reason our district's called to continue our state budget limit override is because the state's failed to adequately fund its community public schools. There's a good chance they'll make even a bigger mess by trying all forms of maneuvers to avoid taxes needed to look out for our state's children. That makes our election more important than ever before in the past. Now, other things happening in the district include parent nights. Trace Rios, teachers provided parents with resources they could use at home, support what's going on in their classrooms. They had a big push for My On Reading so parents and kids would know how that works. Parents braved a rainy night. You remember how bad the storms were that night to take part in the event, so we consider that a pretty big success. Quinton had a literacy night to encourage reading at home. Teachers shared with families in small groups some exciting activities like scavenger hunts, a good reading environment, how to read to your children, a book swap, to name a few of the events the families were engaged in. They enjoyed that a lot. Our school leaders continued their court unified truancy suppression training as part of our initiative to get more kids to school every day. This partnership with Maricopa County helps us address truancy issues with our families who are struggling the most to get their kids to school. We're excited to say that our athletic season is about to begin. We have very passionate, energetic coaches that are ready to give student athletes a positive experience. Basketball is starting for boys and girls right now. I think maybe tonight. They're looking forward to making this fun, competitive basketball season and hope to set a positive tone for the rest of our athletic seasons. In closing, I'd like to express our appreciation to Melissa Van Leuven from Bank of America, Ashton Point Apartments for the donation of school supplies for Country Place and Littleton students, to Kelly Gentile for a donation of books for school supplies, and to John Lewis, the University of Phoenix, for the donation of DPAC kits for district students, staff, and faculty. And that's all I have this evening.